Welcome to Politics Done
Welcome to
Right.
Politics.
My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning, Texas. Of course, good morning to the United States of America. And good morning to the rest of the world. We are going to have a great program for you today. We have some coverage on Le Media that I'm going to do a little bit later. But anyhow, folks, before we get any further, I want to wish a very good morning to our geniuses in the studio. Good morning, geniuses. How are you doing, Senor Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Bibbe?
Well, good morning, Egberto. We managed to swim into work today. The folks on the freeways were behaving themselves, although I did see a couple of incidences along the way. So if you're out there driving along, please just slow it down, man, because it'll still be there when you get there. No problem. All right, Jack, you got some wisdom for us yet?
Yeah, good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Buenos dias. How's my brother doing?
I'm doing good. Okay. What is America today? What have we become? Are we so business-minded and profit-centered that we've lost our compassion for the rest of the world and its peoples? What about our huge American ego? We're exceptional. We're number one. We dominate. Therein lies the problem. We dominate. We need to check our humility in the world. We need a country that will pull the rest of the world up instead of making it into their empire. We got to love the world, not dominate it.
I love that. I love that. And, to get there, we have to have a population who's ready to accept a few realities, because our media sure doesn't do a good job. Thank you for that, Jack. I think that's an important commentary. Anyway, folks, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Today's topic is Maryland Governor Wes Moore slams Manchin and New Labels. Of course, New Labels being, we're going to that later. Centrism is an ideology. And I think I'm going to start with that one, if I can go ahead and find it again. And the timid media danger. There's this article that, I like the one of the rags that I like to read is one called Common Dreams. And they had a piece on the media that I think it's super important that everybody reads. I think, actually, we're going to go over it in detail because when we go out there with our peers and sometimes we blame X, Y, and Z for this or blame X, Y, and Z for that. One of my humilities come from realizing that we're all informed from different places. We're all reared from different places. And how do you hold one accountable when that's what they know? And that is what they know from the sources they respect. And how can you, an arbitrary person, come in and get into that domain when, again, what they have is from the sources they trust? Takes a hell of a lot of humility to go in there and take it. Yesterday, we had the Peace and Justice Center Awards at the Peacemaker Award at the Peace and Justice Center last night. And interestingly, or I should say last evening, our national awardee was the Texas Observer. And it was a Texas Observer because under the tutelage of Gabriel Ariana, they've been doing some very good work in Texas where we have so much misinformation, where the press, for all practical purposes, are scared of the Republican establishment. They counter. These guys were about to close. Remember, I had Gabriel on when they were about to shut the door, when their board shut them down, and they brought out a notion, or they had a GoFundMe and raised $350,000 in one day. Alistair, YouTube is not functional. Let me go ahead and make sure that I think what happened last night is that we had I wasn't broadcasting on all networks last night from the Peace and Justice Center Awards. And in the process, I think I shut off 2 avenues. So what I'm going to do, thank you for telling me that. You should be transmitting on YouTube now. Thank you for telling me that we're transmitting on all channels right now. Good. Thanks for letting me know that. Anyhow, so we honored the Observer yesterday for that great reporting they are doing, along with 3 other great candidates. But again, the media's work is very much lacking right now. So where I want to start with Wes Moore. I'm going to play that, and then we'll go into the rest of the story. And if we don't get to everything, please remember, you can go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. We have all the videos and everything to cover what we're talking about today. But without further ado, let's go ahead and listen to the piece that we did on Wes Moore yesterday. Maryland Governor Wes Moore has a warning for Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin, don't destroy your legacy. Don't be foolish. Don't run as a third party. I want you to see how he warns Joe Manchin and then what he has to say about Biden. And, for the most part, well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and listen to what he has to say. Then I have quite a bit to say on the other side. Check this out.
So what about Manchin? Joe Manchin announced he's not running for re-election to the Senate. He's clearly talking about running for a party running for president as a third party ticket, no labels. He's talking about trying to have a movement to mobilize the middle in this country. What's your message to Joe Manchin?
My message to Joe Manchin is I thank him for his service. I think he's had a career of distinguished service.
42 years in public office.
That's right. Both as governor, senator. I would urge him not to mar his legacy by getting involved in something so foolish.
So foolish, why?
Because if you look at what No Labels is, No Labels literally has no plan, has no path, has no policy platform. They don't even have a candidate. What No Labels is, it's a configuration made up of dark money that won't disclose its donors, but is frankly just going to simply hand an election off by being able to not actually come up with a solution, but just continuing to throw wood into this flame of disillusionment. It is not real.
How much of a threat, though, is the idea of a No Labels candidate, Cornel West? You have Jill Stein running again as the Green Party candidate or running for the Green Party nomination. Bobby Kennedy Jr. is out there. Could we see third-party candidates cost Biden his election, actually get Donald Trump back in the White House?
No, because I think what President Biden is going to continue to show is that results do matter. It's one thing to say we're going to rail against the system. And it's another thing to actually work to make systems better. And that's what I think President Biden has continued to show. When you think about the bills that he has passed, the work that he has done all throughout this country in urban, rural, and suburban parts of this country about economic growth and economic upliftment, about being able to make sure that people's freedoms are actually protected and everybody is seen in conversations and not just some. That's what President Biden has been able to push on. That's what he's been able to get done. Not rhetoric, not hand-wringing, not fist-banging, but actually real productive results for the people of this country. And so I think all the other things will just sound like noise, while President Biden's results will sound like actually what they are, real productive momentum for the people of this country.
Now, yes, Wes Moore's right. Joe Manchin needs to sit his butt down. The reason he left the Senate, the senatorial race, was because there's not a chance in hell that he was going to beat the governor, I think the current governor of West Virginia, who has decided to run for the Senate seat. He's going to get his clock cleaned by him. But that's not the issue. A lot of these senators and congresspersons, they just believe that they have to be in power all of the time. So that is even besides the point. The reality is as follows. Wes Moore is correct for telling him, don't run. You'll likely hurt not only you just hurt our basic body politic. And when Wes Moore goes ahead and enumerates the accomplishments of the President Biden, the one thing he forgot to say was that those accomplishments in those 2 years, some of them reverted right back to how things were before because of Joe Manchin, the guy who would want us to believe he wants to run as a third party for president. So as he criticizes Manchin, that is, the state of our economy, the state of many workers, etc., what he forgets is that much of that problem was created by his lack of continuing with the progressive agenda that President Biden was invoking based on what the progressive caucus convinced him to go with, because these are things the American people want. What's more is a bit more optimistic, or rather a bit too rosy, however, on the accomplishment given the regressiveness of what has occurred after the pandemic. Monies have really started to expire, to run out, to no longer be stimulative to the economy. Things like not getting the support for daycares, etc. Now that that is gone and Manchin refuses to put it up, things are not looking as good as it was for many. So while in the aggregate the economy is doing fine, I think Wes Moore would do better to have said that those problems that we're having today are because of Manchin and Sinema's inability to fulfill what Americans want. But most importantly, realize that what Biden did was under the auspices of progressives. Now, that said, let's be clear here. There is another issue looming over the horizon, and that is Israel, Gaza, Palestine, Hamas. The rest of the world, maybe not the president in that respect is displaying the old adage that people had of the Middle East. We could tell the people in America, don't believe what your eyes are seeing, because the IDF, Netanyahu, the Israeli government is doing what's right, and Americans just bought it. But now they have not only the eyes that they can see from Google satellite, they also have all the images coming in from people's cell phones all over Gaza as they are seeing the suffering and deaths of 11,000 Gazans. Yes, 1,400 Israelis were murdered. Innocent Israelis were murdered. But when you talk about simply going in then to Gaza, claiming to go to kill the others, and it turns out this way, Americans, the young people, many people of color, they actually see what Biden doesn't want you to see in his quest to appease Netanyahu. And I don't know if that stance is maintained, if he has the votes of those that he will need. And you may say, so where are they going to go? Are they going to go to Trump? No. They'll stay home. They'll throw their hands up and say, c'est la vie. What will be after all. You know, this is what they're seeing. So Wes Moore will do well. I mean, he's correct with wanting to wanting Manchin not to run. He's correct that the first 2 years of the Biden presidency, because of the stimulative effect created by the progressive policies he passed based on what the progressives asked him to pass, was great. But where the failure is are two places. One, Manchin was highly responsible for the current decline and the increase in poverty of many. Manchin, a Democrat, was responsible for that by not supporting the bill. And secondly, Biden's Israel stance will cost him. And I hope America sees that. I hope Biden understands that before it's too late. Welcome aboard, Alistair Waters. We also have in the house Paul Fleming Sr. de Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you guys for being here as well in the chat. You know, a lot of folks are kind of talking about no labels and Manchin because they think the country wants to move to this mythical center. You see, we have a mythical center that people like to talk about. Folks, there ain't no center. Welcome, Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. There ain't no center. The truth of the matter is America tells you where they want based on all the polling that was done. I want you to listen to this is one that I taped. And this was a while back. Now that they're talking a lot about new labels, et cetera, I wanted to talk about this myth that somehow America is trying to find a way to move to this mythical center that doesn't exist. Listen to what Maurice Mitchell, the national director of the Working Families Party, has to say, and then we'll take it on the other side.
These narratives carry with them all types of political interests. Talking about electability, in that one word is sort of sandwiched in that word are all of these biases, right? And all of these political interests, right? And we have one of the most crucial decisions to make. Our country is choosing to either go further towards neo-fascism, return back to the sort of like third way triangulation of sort of corporate Democrats, or take a leap forward towards more progressive, more inclusive, more socially democratic country. Those are our three very stark decisions that we're making. The intervention I think we need to make is around this question of electability, or what it takes to actually beat an ascendant white Christian identity movement that Trump rode to the White House. My instincts, as well as the data, right? Because I would say that I haven't seen any data that suggests that, because there's like 15% of people who aren't either like Democrats or Republicans, they're often called centrists, right? In order to be a centrist, you need to have a pretty nuanced ideological understanding of the left and the right to choose to, for some reason, become equidistant between them. That's not what's happening with those folks. These are everyday folks who are just trying to get through their day and who have some like ideologically discordant views, right? They believe some really liberal things and some kind of conservative things. The thing that helps people cohere a political identity is organizing. The way that you organize people is by presenting a dramatic, positive vision for their future and working hand in hand with them to build it. And so, presenting people with small bore solutions or ferrying them to the voting booth is not going to be enough to build a movement of people. You might get them to vote maybe, but you're not going to get them to volunteer like hell to bring other people in their communities and into the fold and to have the necessary conversation in their churches, in Thanksgiving, in order to shift folks towards our side. The only way that could happen is by actually saying and standing on what we actually want. Right? And so there's a lot of folks who are fearing us from doing that in the interest of false unity. Whenever anybody talks about unity, it's actually surrender, right? Whenever I've had a conversation about unity, right, it's actually, right? And whenever anybody talks about ideology, they're always talking about like progressives. Right? For some reason, the radical centrists don't have ideology, right? It's like, you're being way too ideological because we're talking about our values. They're talking about their values, right? They're talking about their corporate values. And so, to me, the intervention needs to be, we need to demystify some of these terms And stop pretending that these are neutral terms. These are loaded terms. These are political terms that are designed to steer us towards a particular politic, right? And we need to resist that. And if we look at the data, and if we want to win, those 15%, that's like my cousin who is a manager at McDonald's and is in her late 20s and is a single mom. She's not super ideological. She needs to be organized. I post stuff on Facebook, and every 20th post, she's like, yeah, cuz, right? She's not reading the Washington Post op-ed section, right? So, like, it's our job to engage with her where she's at and then present her like a positive vision of where we need to go that actually meets the scale of her problems.
And that is the point. And that is the point. We have to start reaching people where they are. We have to start reaching people where they are. Anyhow, let's remember, folks, the call-in number is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Anyhow, the other subject that I want to cover has a lot to do with the media, okay? Because the first two things that I covered are important, right? Manchin trying to be that center candidate, because according to Manchin, things are gone so much to the left that we somehow have to centralize things, not realizing that what Americans have asked for were these values that the people, progressives, have been putting out. They wanted that child care, they got it. They wanted they wanted school relief, they got it until the Republicans and the right took it away, and Manchin didn't do anything to get it back. They wanted to ensure that they had good health care. A lot of the policies that were passed are no longer in effect, so many people are now losing the Medicaid expansion that they had during the pandemic. All these great things that happened under progressives that significantly reduced poverty in our country. Significantly reduced poverty in our country are now gone because of Manchin, a Democrat, and Sinema, a former Democrat. And it is Manchin who thinks we want to centralize again on the center. What center are we talking about? But anyhow, it gets worse it'll get worse before it'll get better. And one of the reasons has to do with an article that I read called "As the World Burns, a Cowardly News Media Endangers U.S. Democracy." And the subtitle for that article in Common Dreams. And for those of you who are looking for alternatives to, let's say, the Post or the New York Times or any of these other rags that are out there, important rags, good rags, but that simply has messaging too often, too bland, mild, or defensive, or timid. Common Dreams is a rag you should read. TheDailyCoast.com is another rag you should read, because what you get there is you get a lot of the reporting from these majors, which have the funding to get the reporting, but then you are able to give the truthful analysis for what these guys are saying, which is absolutely necessary. But anyway, starting, it says, there was a shocking and incredibly important story on the front page of the New York Times last week. As reported by an A-team of journalists, including 2 Pulitzer Prize winners, the Times warns its readers that Donald Trump, if returned to the White House in 2025, is grooming a new team of extremist government lawyers who would be more loyal to their dear leader than to the rule of law. You say you didn't hear anything about this? That's not surprising. The editors at the Times made sure to present this major report in the blandest, most inoffensive way possible. Staying true to the mantra, in the nation's most influential newsrooms that the 2024 election shouldn't be covered any differently, even when U.S. democracy is on the line. Trump allies want a new style of lawyer if he returns to power, was the original online headline for the piece, as if maybe they were talking about colorful, drawling Southerners with seer-sucking suits rather than rabid dog ideologies who would do the dirty work of overturning an election that career government attorneys refused to do before January 6, 2021. That new style of lawyer, pro-Trump, America first, zealots who think the ultra-conservative lawyers bred in the Federal Society are too soft to carry out their leader's autocratic call for a final battle against traditional democratic governance that he calls the deep state, was described numbingly by the Times as more aggressive legal gatekeepers. Let me dissect that paragraph. They're saying Donald Trump, who would purport to be a conservative, and as we know, the Federalist Society is that legal arm that gives these folks which judges to appoint, which lawyers you should use, etc. Donald Trump doesn't want anything to do with the Federalist Society anymore. Those guys are not extreme enough. They are not autocratic enough. So he says, to hell with the Federal Society if I'm reelected again. I am going with their dangerous anti-democratic mission. So their dangerous anti-democratic mission was blandly outlined as a plan to take control of the government in a way unseen in presidential history. That's where we have now come into office, assuming Trump were to win. I'm picking on this one article in the Times as it's timid, inoffensive packaging, not because it is unique, but because it is far too typical right now. In one of the most perilous moments of crisis the world has seen in 75 years, and with the basic notions of free speech and under assault, most newsrooms aren't fighting back. They're instead pulling their punches in a defensive, rope-a-dope crouch, and thus failing to truly inform when democracy is at risk. Mark Jacob wrote the following. I want you to listen to this tweet. It says, this New York Times story uses over-tidy language. I'll translate. And this is what he wrote in the tweet. It was great. A new style of lawyer is equal to fascist lawyer. Aggressive legal gatekeeper equal to Roy Cohn-style crooked lawyers. Taking control of the government in a way unseen in presidential history equals overthrow democracy. The article was bland. I'm going to continue with the other things that are missed throughout our media. But beforehand, let me jump ahead and go on to the mayor of Politics Done Right, in Johnny, who is on the line. And then we'll follow up with Harry. Come on in, Johnny. And by the way, folks, the telephone number is 713-526-5738. Love to hear your calls, your thoughts. I want to hear from you, 713-526-5738. Come on in, Brother Johnny.
Good morning, Governor.
Good morning. No, you're the governor. Come on in, brother. Oh, you're the mayor. Come on in.
Mayor, I'm Mayor McKees. You're the governor of Texas.
Talk to me, Johnny.
Joe Manchin. Well, every time I hear that name, I visualize that crew cut of his, that buzz cut. So here's a weird-ass Venn diagram, if you will, of the intersection of literal haircuts and political haircuts. I know a lot of people my age can relate to this. I was born in 59. In 64, when the Beatles came over to the United States with their mop tops, I was still getting crew cuts. Not of my own choice. It was forced upon me by my daddy, who would bring me to the barber, and every time he brought me to the barber, it was always a crew cut, always a buzz cut or whatever. I hated it because I looked stupid and I looked like I didn't have the language for it back then. I didn't know the word, but back then I would have called it a Republican or a conservative. And I didn't feel that way. And every single time. And it wasn't until 1967 or 1968, several years after the Beatles made that longer hair fashionable that I was, after begging and pleading, and with the help of some of my aunts who were more liberal and liked Beatles music, by the way, and they liked Motown, and they knew all the popular music. My mother didn't, my dad didn't, but they did. And between that and my aunts, my dad finally caved in, and I was able to grow my hair a little bit longer, me and then my brother. So what I'm saying is, when we hear Joe Manchin and he talks about how he wants to, he's thinking about the affairs of the country, and he's thinking about running, putting his hat in through no labels, and I'm thinking, this guy with a buzz cut wants to force his ideology, his sensibilities on Americans who don't want a buzz cut. We don't want a political haircut. We want to grow our hair long and natural the way it's supposed to be, because we're animals after all. There's nothing feminine about it. It's just what it is. We can't keep trying to dominate Mother Nature. Keep mowing the lawn, as Netanyahu likes to do. Political haircuts, no.
Johnny, that is the reason that after I played Joe Manchin, I played Maurice Mitchell from the Working Families Party, and the speech that he gave. That speech, you know what's so funny about it? I was thinking about it when I played it Friday as well. I was thinking on the 3:00 show. I was thinking about it because that was, and hear this, brother, that was 4 years ago, and nothing leading up to this election has changed that reality. And I find that sadly sad. And it has a lot to do with the third part that I'm talking about, which is the New York Times and how and the Washington Post, and how they're blandly reporting the dangers that we're in right now. Continue, Johnny.
I will close and say that I would like to mass produce a whole bunch of bumper stickers that say political buzz cuts, no. Egberto for governor, yes.
Hey, man, have no desire for politics. Not only that, my mouth's too big. But anyhow, brother, thank you so kindly for calling in, brother. Johnny?
How about put on a barber's uniform? How about you and I put on a barber's uniform and we start giving buzz cuts to all the Republicans and the centrist Democrats who pretend to be?
And you know what? I like that. You know what's a good thing? You remember those days? I'm coming to you, Harry. You remember those days, Johnny, when you go to the barber shop and that's where you sit down and you have all these conversations? Given that we're going to give crew cuts to Republicans and centrists, you and I get a chance to talk to them. So I like your idea. Have a great one, Johnny.
And mark them. We need to identify them easily.
All right, Johnny. Johnny, got to go to Harry. Thank you, brother. Harry, come on in, brother.
Thank you, Mayor of Politics Done Right, with your analogies of buzz cuts and crew cuts. They do know. You inform us, as always, with your knowledge. And I want to say good morning to the two geniuses in the control room, Howard Reynolds and Jack Van Dever, with Jack Van Dever's wisdom, as usual. And Politics Done Right operator, Egberto Willie.
Muchísimas gracias, hermano. Go ahead, brother. Talk to me, Harry.
Okay, what I'm going to say is, I know, Egberto, you saw the movie the Star Wars prequel, New Hope, with in 1977. You were around then, as I was. Well, the reason I'm bringing that up is Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, and Joe Biden is also included in this as well. Is Han Solo said to Luke Skywalker when they were in the Death Star. Boy, you said it, Chewie. Where did you dig up that old fossil? Well, Joe Manchin has old fossil ideologies with his centrist ideas. He is out of touch with most progressive American people who do not want his old fossil ideas. He was against Build Back Better. He was against unions. He's for low taxes for the rich. And what you're always talking about on this show, how they rip off the American taxpayer all the time, and on your 3:00 show as well. That's what he's for. He does not, as the woman who just went off, who preceded your show, Joe Manchin does not connect the dots. And then he is against renewables. That was also in the Build Back Better bill because it takes money out of his company, his coal plant company, which you know a lot about, being the electrical engineer that you are, or electrical mechanical engineer that you are, that it's bad for the environment. And he just wants to continue that kind of old technology, status quo type thing, because it puts money into his pockets. So, so he's out of touch of trying to make this a better climate for most Americans, and he doesn't want tax breaks on hardworking Americans. And he's just trying to dupe and fool people, just as you talked about with Donald Trump there with the Federalists, because they are not extreme enough and far right enough for them.
Let me just tell you, Harry, you're correct. And here's the funny thing about it. The man has to pay for his Maserati and his yacht. Okay? Come on now. Let the man.
Exactly. And he wants to keep this old status quo type a business going model so he can pay for that Maserati and yacht.
There you go, Harry.
That he wants. And Kirsten said,
Harry, thank you.
Follow him out the door.
Harry, our lines are filling up. Our lines are filling up, Harry. I gotta go.
Can I say one quick thing?
Oh, sorry. Donald, come on in. Come on in.
Good morning, Bert.
Good morning, Donald. Hold on a second. Let me just tell Brother Harry something. Hey, sorry for the quick drop, Harry, but I think Control thought I was absolutely ready then. Thank you, buddy. Come on in, Donald.
Okay, how many wings does a bird have?
Oh man, you're gonna let me look dumb, man.
Bird has 2 wings to be able to fly.
Oh, it's 2 wings. Okay. Well, hey.
Okay, Art. What is our national bird?
I told you you're gonna let me look stupid.
It's the eagle, right?
That's right, the eagle. Yeah.
So why don't we get rid of the bald eagle and just put a parrot up there? Because everybody's stepping on the right wing and the left wing. The eagle can't even fly. You got people telling it what it's going to do, and all it does is sit up there on a perch and crap on all of us that are down below. And then you got the guy with the blue, what is that blue arrow? What's that blue arrow? Prime? He's trying to stick it to all of us. Nobody's doing nothing about it. He's canceled out all the companies that were on the internet. I mean, these people are getting away with murder of everyone. And we're having to go through where now it's a few people on the middle of the eagle trying to get it to do something, and nobody even believes in it anymore. So just throw a parrot up there, throw him some chips, and be done with it, because that's what we've got.
You know what? Let me just say now, on the positive front, Donald, those. Let me go to the positive front. First of all, let me just say, Donald, you're right as usual. But here's a positive front. I wouldn't personally, this is personal, I wouldn't give up everything to do this kind of work, to be a full-time activist, if I thought there was no hope. I have a daughter, young daughter, and one of the things that I always said is, you know what? Our forefathers, meaning my father, my mother, they have all left us in a better condition because of the work they did than they were. And my goal as well is to do the same. I will be damned if I move from another country into a democracy and watch it turn itself into a fascist state. And there are a lot of us who feel that way. And that's why we do what we do. So while I agree with you with throw the parrot up there, I'm going to say, no, Donald, no. I understand that right now the parrot is up there. And we are going to reconstitute the eagle. And thanks for reminding me that the eagle is the bird, buddy. Like I said, I know you're going to make me look foolish, but hey, it's okay.
Where are the Benjamin Franklins at? Where are the Benjamin Franklins at? They've got to be up there. Somebody's got to
No, wait. Stop. Donald, stop. Stop, brother. Stop. Go look in the mirror. All right? Go look in the mirror. Go look in the mirror. Because the fact that you see the problem and you're doing something about the problem, you are our Benjamin Franklin or whoever it is that's going to start making things better. And that goes for everybody that's listening that thinks we need to go the different way. We're going to go the different way because of you. Thank you, Brother Donald.
All right, later.
Take care, buddy. Let's go to my brother in Ray Third Ward. I should say my brother in Third Ward, Ray. Come on in, Ray. How you doing?
Buenos
Ray, you're on. Buenos días, mi hermano. ¿Cómo estás?
Hey, man. You know what? I'm loving the energy on this radio show today. You know, I bring a different energy. I'm bringing the WWE energy this morning, and
let's have it.
Listening to Brother Johnny every morning, I hear him. It makes me think about this wrestler who was part of a tag team called the Dudley Boys, and every time his brother Bubba Ray would finish a promo, he would say, "Oh, my brother, testify," and that's what I want. I wish somebody would just come behind Johnny and say, "Testify," you know. And then,
well, you just did. You just did, Ray.
Well, there you go, Brother Johnny. One more. I got one more. I got a riddle for you.
Let me hear it.
In respect of what does The Rock say? The Rock says, "Do you know who is going to be president in 2024?"
Okay, I'm not going to even try. I'm going to let you finish that.
It doesn't matter. The Rock says it doesn't matter who's going to be president in 2024 because what matters is that we, as progressives, reignite the progressive movement and make sure that we load up the Congress, which has ultimate power over the executive and the judicial, and at that point, whether it's Trump or whether it's Biden or one of these other blowhards who claims that they have the qualifications to be president, if you have a Congress that basically is passing progressive law, what are they going to? They're going to veto every single bill that comes to their desk? I don't think
what?
so.
I love what you just said, Ray. I love what you just said. In other words, don't just sweat the presidency. Let's get the damn work done. Because we may not win all the positions that we need to win, including not necessarily the presidency, but by gosh, we can win mostly everything because we are where the people really are. I love that, Ray. I love that.
Yeah, man, Ray? It's that simple. It really is.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Ray. We need to not just be hyperventilating about the presidency. We need to hyperventilate on every single position of power in the country, and not only at the Congress level, not only at the Senate level, but at every and absolutely every level. You know, sometimes we always need to get back to perspective and not just concentrate on that major thing. Good point, brother. Good point. Anything else before I move on?
Yeah, I want to put a little nugget of a little seed of doubt in my MAGA friend's mind.
Yes,
Donald Trump. However much they may admire him, just look at the leaders that he admires. Namely, I'm going to say Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-il. Now, these people claim that they hate a certain ideology, but what ideology do these leaders have in common? I'll leave you with that nugget of energy. I'll leave you with that nugget to just chew on for a moment and think about if he gets back into power, you may think you're getting one thing, but be careful what you wish for. You may get another.
You nailed it. Thank you very much.
Morning.
Ray, my brother from Third Ward, thank you so kindly for those comments. Let's go to brother Derek. Come on in, Derek. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, good morning. How you doing, Alberto?
I'm doing fine, my friend. Talk to me.
Yes, sir. Public Enemy used to have a song that would say, "Y'all watch out for the night train." See, I've always said about Joe Manchin that he was nothing but a Dixiecrat parading in Democratic clothes. Now, we just had the censure vote on Rashida Tlaib, right?
Yes.
But notice there was 22 Democrats that voted with the Republicans. I say watch out for the night train. And you need to find out if Joe Manchin's name was part of that 22 that signed. Get all their names. Because I'm telling you, as the Republicans want to take back America for themselves, you also got those Dixiecrats acting in concerted effort with them. That's all I'm
Two things, Derek. One, Manchin couldn't vote. It was a House vote, so Manchin is a senator. But let me just say one thing that you nailed. Right. As far as the 22 Democrats that voted to censure Rashida Tlaib, they were all very huge recipients of monies from AIPAC. I don't know if you know the Minnesota congressperson shouted out recently, I don't care, to hell with AIPAC. In other words, I'm not going to let them continue to buy my vote. I'm going to do what's humane, what's ethical, and I won't do that. I've done like 4 pieces on Rashida Tlaib on the on my 3:00 program. I hadn't done it here, but Rashida Tlaib is the attack on Rashida Tlaib was a danger sign. In fact, just last night I did a piece that says, for all practical purposes, I feel Rashida's pain because Rashida is watching the pain that for the savagery of what Hamas did to 1,400 innocent Israelis, 11,000 plus of innocent Palestinians are paying the price and growing at this rate. In the next 3 weeks, we'll be talking about over 25,000 Palestinians dead because of what these people have done. If one thing we can show is that this tit for tat isn't making anything any better. So I feel Rashida's pain just like she feels it, because my original country folk in Panama had to watch thousands of Panamanians die indiscriminately because we wanted to get Manuel Antonio Noriega here in the United States. And what I wrote in the article last night is we have lost the moral authority to tell Israel, stop killing innocent Palestinians, given that our modus operandi has been the same. When for one person, we don't, I think Colin Powell called the Panamanians collateral damage. Is Colin Powell or one of the others? Collateral damage. When you treat people as collateral damage to get your goal at all cost, be careful. Anything else, Derek, before I move on? Derek? Okay, we may have some problems with Derek's phone. Let's go ahead and I think Derek is done. Derek, thank you for the call. Very important. All right. I want to continue with the article that I got before the calls came in. 713-526-5738 is the number. Extension number 2. 713-526-5738, extension number 2. Right now, continuing the article, remember the premise of the article is that the mainstream media is much too timid. Not only are they timid, but their timidity is actually going to cost us as a country. Folks, if I don't get to finish it, all the links are at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, because I got to go to Moses right now. Come on in, my dear Moses.
Buenos días, mi hermano.
¿Cómo estás, mi hermana? Talk to me.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go quickly because, this is what I'm saying. The Middle East debacle may not hamper the presidency, because I think after the furor of pain that the people are feeling over the Middle East right now, they will calm down. And they will see that the Republican threat before them is the same that threatened to bring Israel where it is today under Netanyahu. Because look what Netanyahu did. He shut down the Supreme Court of Israel so he could do what he had to do. And so now some Israelis saw it and they were demonstrating against it, but nobody was listening to them. So this is what is happening. We better take Israel as the model. The Republican Party is setting themselves up to do the same thing that Netanyahu did. Americans, open your eyes. I know we are all suffering and crying for what the result of Netanyahu in Israel. But open your eyes. The Republican Party under Donald Trump is setting themselves up to do us the same thing. Open your eyes in this country. Like we say back home, when your neighbor's house is on fire, take water and wet yours. Because yours might be filled just like theirs. And that's
Moses,
all I have.
Wait, Moses, don't leave yet. I've always, I'm a discerner of accents. Even right here in the United States, I can kind of tell if you're from the Dakotas, if you're from Minnesota, or if you're from Canada or whatever. But even as I have my Caribbean English, I haven't yet figured yours.
My accent is in the Eastern Caribbean.
Where is it from?
Eastern Caribbean, the independent island, British island in the Eastern Caribbean.
Okay, all right. You're not going to tell me specifically, but that's good enough. I knew it, but I'm still trying to centralize it, and I'll eventually get it.
I'll leave you, like I used to tell my students, I'll give you 2 weeks to figure out the riddle.
Okay, I will do that, my friend. Thank you so kindly for the call. 713-526-5738, extension number 2. I'll guess your accent. Welcome to the chat, Jay Ray, as well as brother Eric Hayes. Great having you guys talk in the chat. A lot of good conversation in there. You guys should join them as well. Anyway, folks, let me continue with a piece of this article that I find intriguing, but I'm glad to see where they're going. It says, right now, ground zero is the horrific conflict in the Middle East, where bombing by Israel in response to a violent Hamas terror attack on October 7th is killing thousands of children, yet too many newsrooms adapt a passive voice to describe the bloodshed or who is to blame for the attacks. It can be hard times to distinguish what is real. Explosion at Gaza refugee camp leaves massive crater was the BBC headline for an Israeli bombing that killed or wounded scores of civilians. And what is satire? The Onion's take. The Onion stands with Israel because it seems like you get in less trouble that way. Felt more honest and hurtful than many serious news headlines. So in other words, The Onion, if for you don't know who The Onion is the best satire rag on the planet. Okay? And that was their satire was closer to the truth than the headlines out of the BBC, a rather progressive type of news agency. What worries me even more, according to the article, frankly, is how the push not to offend with Middle East news coverage is emblematic of a bigger trend of newsroom timidity and even rank cowardice that also permeates domestic news coverage at a moment when right-wing extremists are controlling the U.S. House and are on track to regain the White House and full governmental control in a chaotic election year. The mainstream elite media seems especially flummoxed by the new Republican House Speaker, Mike Johnson of Louisiana. Johnson was an obscure backbencher on Capitol Hill and remains a man of mystery with no apparent bank account or tangible assets, but the extremism of his Christian nationalist view more radical than anything seen in American history. Finish the article at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter because I need to go to Nikki. Come on in, Nikki.
Good morning. Buenos dias.
Good morning.
How are you?
What? I'm fine, Nikki. Talk to me, my dear sister.
Great. So a couple things. I stumbled upon this program by mistake, and I heard my coworker speaking on it, Gonzalo. So I've been listening kind of ever since then. I really enjoyed the show. Great information. I wanted to know, how can I listen to it, like if I'm already at work and I'm not in my vehicle? Is there a way to listen to this?
Oh, absolutely. If you want to listen to it live, you can go to kpft.org and stream it right at your computer or on your phone. You can also get podcasts by going to politicsdoneright.com/podcast, or you can watch it on YouTube by going to politicsdoneright.com/TV. So there are a lot of ways to do it. You can also drop me a line at kpft@politicsdoneright.com. That is kpft@politicsdoneright.com. Sign up for the newsletter. We tell you what's coming on every morning. It goes out at 5 a.m, and we also send you some other stuff. So please join the fold. We have this thing called the PDR Posse, where people are informed from what we talk about. Go ahead, Nikki.
Okay, beautiful. Two other things. I want to say testify, Brother Ray from Third Ward. Good information. And Moses, I'm going to bet that Moses' accent is from Barbados.
Okay. I love it. So you took the plunge, Nikki.
I did, but we'll see when Miss Moses calls back. Madam Moses calls back. Just want to tell you, thank you. And is there still an opportunity? I missed the fundraiser. Is there still an opportunity to participate in donation?
You can always go to kpft.org and donate. That button that never goes away because public media always need your support. So please go to remember to select. Remember to select that it's for Politics Done Right. And I just told that I got to wrap now. So thank you so kindly, Nikki.
Okay.
Anyway, folks, my name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. Thank you, everybody. I am out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.